Okay. Good afternoon. We're now in session of the May 6th special meeting of the Glendale Successor Agency. Can we have roll call, please?
Board members: Friedman, Jarian,
Here.
Quintero,
Here.
Weaver,
Here.
Mayor Sinanian.
Here. What's next on the agenda?
The report, which is that the agenda of the May 6, 2014 special public meeting of Successor Agency was posted on Thursday, May 1st, 2014 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. You have before you the first item, the approval of the minutes of the Joint Council and Successor Agency meeting of Tuesday, February 11th.
I'll move the minutes.
Second. Can we have roll call, please?
Authority members, board members: Friedman, Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Sinanian.
Yes. What's next?
Next item is Director of Economic Development regarding Alex Theater carpet replacement and exterior painting projects. 2A is resolution adopting spec number 3527 for installation of the carpet and directing the city clerk to advertise for bids. B is resolution adopting spec number 3528 for the exterior painting and directing the city clerk to advertise for bids. C is resolution dispensing with competitive bidding and authorizing purchase of the carpet from Bentley Mills, Inc., including any required deposits. That is all for that item.
Okay. Do we have a report?
Yes, sir. The item before you has two basic parts. Seeing as we are at the tail end of a very successful rehab project at the Alex Theater, we have the ability to do some of the final finishes that we had referenced at the outset of the project. And so we are before you looking for the approval of specs for painting and carpet. We, on the other hand, are not looking at, we are looking to dispense with competitive bidding on the purchase of the carpet, however, because Bentley Mills is the only manufacturer that makes this particular swath. The carpet in the Alex, the pattern, I believe, is no longer made on the market. It's 10 years old, and thus this firm is the only firm that can make it. So $62,000, I believe, is the amount for, the estimate for the carpet, and then we would move forward with your permission, if you approve the specs, with bidding out the installation and the exterior paint. If you have any specific questions, I believe Project Manager Hagop Kasabian and Ms. Pruitt is here to answer any of those, or you can ask Mr. Lanzafame.
Do we have any questions? Yes.
What is the premium that we're paying for this particular design of carpet over a standard model or standard design carpet?
I'd like to defer that question to Jack Alloway, the General Manager of the Alex Theater.
So there's a special carpet that is not in production anymore, and we've bought the rights, and this mill is the only one that will manufacture. But how much of a premium are we paying for that?
Mr. Nazarian, I don't think we're paying any premium. The situation is that we're not replacing all of the carpet in the theater, so this carpet will match the existing carpet. I think the rate is about $40 a yard, which includes moisture barrier and the gluing surface and all that. So it really is very competitive with whatever we would go out and buy on the open market. Okay. And it will match what we have, so we don't have to recarpet the whole theater or have a mismatch.
Right. So to recarpet the whole theater with something new that may have even theoretically been cheaper would probably end up costing much more, because then you're talking about the whole place as opposed to just...
When we recarpeted last 10 years ago, we needed 2,400 square yards. We're asking for 1,300 square yards for this.
Thank you. I have another question of staff. So can you please remind me what our relationship is with the Alex? We have paid, the city has paid for these upgrades. The Alex is managed and run by Glendale Arts. Theater is owned by...
When we started this, the theater was owned by the redevelopment agency. The redevelopment agency entered into two agreements: a ground lease with with Glendale Arts to lease the theater, and as part of that ground lease, we said we would do certain capital improvements. We also entered into a management agreement where we pay them a management fee to manage the theater for us. So as we moved forward, the redevelopment agency was funding all of those capital improvements pursuant to the ground lease. When redevelopment was dissolved, that obligation continued on because the ground lease is still in effect. The payments for that, the funding for those projects, is now coming through our annual or our semi-annual ROPS. So we asked the state to give us money to make the payments on those obligations. We're obligated to do the painting and the carpet repair.
And it is managed by what entity?
The theater is managed by Glendale Arts, which is a nonprofit.
And who, does the city have any representatives on that board? Do the council members have the ability to nominate directors on that board? Or are we not, that's not the way it's...
Not on that board. They're a separate nonprofit. Originally, several years ago, it was tied to the city. And much like you'll hear in our upcoming report, it was agreed to separate from the city because then you're eligible for more grants as a nonprofit entity. And so we did that. Now, the city sits, I'm the designated person, Ms. Pruitt and Ms. Babolian, we all sit on the Alex Theater Committee, which is a committee of the Glendale Arts that deals with the theater. So there is representation as it affects the theater through me and my staff.
So what other responsibilities and duties does Glendale Arts have besides managing the Alex Theater?
They have a whole host of programming that they do. They manage the theater, but they also fund productions of their own. The talk series that we've recently had, the Glendale Pops, those are all programming that Glendale Arts does on its own, and they pay a rental of the theater, and then they use it for their own programming. They do educational programming in the community, mostly with Glendale Unified School District, and then they do box office services for Glendale College, for a whole host of nonprofits in the community. If you're having a special event or something, the Alex Theater would do your box office ticketing, so you didn't have to create that.
The ground lease obligates us for how many more years?
That expires next year. It's, I believe, June 2015. And it was to coincide with the original sunset of the central project area.
Do you expect are we permitted to, so who's going to fund the Alex after next year, I guess?
Well,
is my question.
and then you asked the question, who owns the Alex Theater? Right now, the successor agency owns the theater. We have it approved in our project, in our property management plan, that the city would retain ownership of that and enter into compensation agreements. We intend to enter into compensation agreements with our taxing partners. It's also at that point where Glendale Arts will go on its own because our subsidy ends at that point. I should say our management agreement ends. So we will need to do something with the theater within the next 12 months, whether Glendale Arts continues to operate it for us or we make some other arrangement. So far, on the spot, it would be my recommendation that we talk to Glendale Arts about continuing management of the theater.
And the only reason I'm asking is I think it would be appropriate if council had or this city, through the council, had a seat on the board of directors. Separate from your role as a committee member that is in charge of the Alex, I think the city has put significant funds into the Alex, and certainly would not be inappropriate for the city to have a seat on the board of directors.
For Glendale Arts?
Yes. And that's something we can discuss later, and maybe we can raise that at another time. But Goldman Sachs comes in and is funding your company and giving you the investment capital to continue and keep operating. You can be darn sure that they have a seat on the board, if not the CEO or the CFO. So
Recognize our management agreement expires. If we were to ask them to manage the theater in the future, I would tie it to a lease. And so we aren't paying them a management fee, but rather they have the use of the theater it's some discount or a dollar nominal fee.
All right, thank you. I'll move the item if there's no other questions.
Second it?
Can we have roll call, please? So are we moving all three of them?
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Thank
Roll
you.
call, please.
Board members Friedman, Najarian,
Yes.
Harrow,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Sinanian.
Yes. Next item?
Next item is a closed session conference with legal counsel pending litigation, Glendale Successor Agency versus Yegizarian, LASC, case number 14P02272.
Okay.
May recess.
Okay, we'll recess.